What's up guys, and welcome to another video about Jetpack Compose and Canvas. In this video we are going to build such a hexagonal progress indicator which is clickable and starts with a nice animation indicating that we are currently loading. We can then click on it again to stop the animation, or you could also make the animation stop if some kind of data fetching was finished. The indicator is also highly responsive. We just need to give a certain percentage of the screen width, and then it adapts on the high and the width, of course. For example, if we pass 25%, then it gets smaller, or 15%, then it gets even more small. Or if you want to have a big one, then you could increase it to, for example, 70%. Alright, okay, I'm in an empty Jetpack Compose project. I've just removed the default composable and also the default composables preview, and I've added some colors, but for this video we only need this white color and the bright blue color. Feel free to use your own ones, or you can also copy them from my GitHub's repository, which is linked down below. In our main activity, we can straight start with our hexagon composable function hexagon, which takes a modifier and is filled boolean. And this indicates if we should actually fill the hexagon with color or if we want to have a stroked one, because we can use this composable for both hexagons, the outer one and the inner one. The outer one has just a specific stroke width and the inner one is filled. And this boolean indicates which one we want to have. Then we have an icon of type image vector, which is null by default, so it's optional. Maybe in some cases you don't want to have an icon in the center of the hexagon, so this is why this is optional. Then a hexagon color of type color, a background color of type color, an icon tint of type color, which is set to white by default. But in case you don't want to pass an icon here, then this is just ignored. We will also have an onClick lambda function, which does not take anything and does not return anything. And this is of type optional and set to null by default, because we don't want to make the hexagon always be clickable, only the filled one in this, which is in the center. The outer hexagon with the stroke width shouldn't be clickable, and this is why this onClick is of type optional. And we will also have a boolean should animate loading bar, which indicates if we should animate if the user actually clicked the hexagon. This is set to false by default. In here we need different state vars, for example the click animation offset, where the user actually clicked inside the hexagon, because we want to start the click animation from the specific point where the user actually clicked. This will be by remember, mutable state of, and set to offset.0 by default. After that, we will have var canvas size, because we need the canvas size later in our modifier of the canvas where we detect the tap gestures, and we need to save it from the canvas, from in the canvas draw scope, to get access in the modifier to it. Mutable state of offset.0 by default as well, not offset, size.0 like this. Then we will have an animation radius by remember. This will be the radius when we click in the center of the filled hexagon somewhere, then it expands from the click's offset, and we need to set this animation radius depending on the canvas size later. This will be mutable state of 0 by default, and after that we will also have an animation rotation by remember and also set to 0f by default. Later on we will invoke this hexagon composable 2 times, and for example the outer hexagon, the stroked one, does not need this click animation offset state var, and the inner one, for example, does not need the animation rotation. So feel free to make 2 different composables for each of these hexagons. I think it's fine to make one and just do 1 or 2 if conditions later, if we are currently in the inner one, which is clickable, or if we should animate the outer one or something like this. We will first start with the drawing, and then we will launch the application to have a look at the hexagon's design, and after that we will take care of the animation. For the canvas drawing we will have a box which takes the passed modifier from above, and the content alignment of this box will be alignment.center. Then we can open the box scope, and in here we will then have a canvas. This takes also a modifier, and this modifier will fill the max size, so this box modifier size. Then we can open the draw scope, and first of all we need to get access to the height and to the width of the canvas. Well, height is equal to size.height, well, width is equal to size.width. And then we can set our state var, our canvas size is equal to size, and we will pass the width and the height. Now we can draw our path, so the hexagon path, which will contain 6 lines, and for each edge of the hexagon 1 line, and we can achieve this by using a path. We will say path.apply, and I think we need to import path here, yes. And then we can start. We will move the cursor first to the center of the x-axis, so in the middle. We will start in the middle at the top with our drawing. So width divided by 2. And for the y value, because we are at the top, we will simply pass 0f, because this canvas size or canvas y starts at the top and the canvas x starts on the left. Then we can draw our first line. We will say line 2, our canvas width, so on the very right. And for the y value, we will pass height divided by 4. If you think about a hexagon, then this makes totally sense. We start at the top in the middle, and then we go to the right, but only 25% of the height. And then we can draw our next line. We will say width again. Now we are still on the right, and now we go a little bit more to the bottom. And this time we will say canvas for the y value, height divided by 4 multiplied with 3, so 75%. After that we can draw our next line. This time we will say width divided by 2 again, and for the height or for the y value we will pass the height. We are at the bottom now in the center. Now we will draw to the left, so we will say line 2, 0f, so the very left, and height divided by 4 multiplied with 3, 75% again. The next line will be again on 0f for the x, and for the y value we will pass height divided by 4. So the mirrored line to this one here. And we don't need to draw the last line on ourselves. We can simply say close, and then the canvas will do the rest for us and close the hexagon. After that, we will check on if we should animate the loading bar, and we will take off animation later. So let's leave this empty for now. And in the else case, we will simply draw the path. We can say draw path. We will pass the path we just created. The color will be our hexagon color, and the style will be depending on the isFilled boolean. We will say if isFilled, then we will just fill it, and else we will make this a stroked one. And the width for the stroke will be 1dp.2 pixel, like this. And let's also import all the stuff. This was actually it, just for the drawing. Very easy. Let's go down in our box scope below the canvas. We will say if icon is not equal to null, then we can display this icon. And since the box has a centered content alignment, the icon will be displayed in the center. We can say icon, we will pass our image vector for the image vector. Let's also import this icon here, this one, and then we will also pass a content description. The modifier will be equal to modifier fill max size, 50% of the maximum size, and the tint will be our icon tint. And I think then we can try this out if this actually works. We will use a preview for that. We can say add preview, show background to true, and this will be a composable hexagon preview. And in here we can invoke our hexagon now. In this preview we will have a box which takes a modifier. This modifier will fill the max width, and we also pass an aspect ratio 6 divided by 7, so that the hexagon will be a little bit more high than it's actually wide, because it looks better. We will also have a little padding of 15 dp. The content alignment, no, we don't actually need the content alignment here. And in here we can then invoke the hexagon, and you can see we only need to pass 3 parameters here. The rest is optional. We want to see a filled one. The hexagon color will be blue, the background color will be white, and for the modifier we will say modifier.fillMaxSize. And then we can go to split up here, and I already tried this, and I just didn't apply this aspect ratio. And now you can see that the hexagon looks very nice. We can also pass false for is filled, then you can see that we get a stroked one here. And we can also try the centered icon. Let's pass true again. And for the icon, we will pass icons.default.search and then refresh this preview. And now we should see our icon in the center. Okay, fine. This looks very good. Let's take care of the animations now. We will go back to our canvas, to our hexagon canvas. Here, this one, the modifier. We need to pass or apply a pointer input. We will pass true for the key. And in here, we can then say detect tap gestures. And we only are interested in the on-tap function. And we will get an offset provided in this on-tap function. And we can then check where the user actually clicked in our canvas. First of all, we want to check if is onClicked equal to null. Then we don't want to apply any click animation, any click effects. We can simply say return detect tap gestures then, and there will be no effect when we click on this. If this if condition was not true, then we are still in our onTap function and can invoke our onClick function. Set the click animation offset to offset as well, the provided offset here. And now we want to start an animation, and for that we first need a coroutine scope. We can say, well, coroutine scope is equal to remember coroutine scope, can go back to our onTap function and say coroutine scope.launch. We will animate from 0f to our canvas size dot height multiplied with 2. The animation spec will be tween and the duration will be 200 milliseconds. So this will animate 0 to our canvas size dot height multiplied with 2 within 200 milliseconds. And the value, which is changed very frequently, is provided in this block here. And we can set our animation radius equal to that value. And after that, this will suspend here 200 milliseconds. We will set the animation radius to 0 again. And this animation radius is exactly where our click animation expands from the actual offset where the user clicked. And after that, we will set this radius to 0 again, so that the circle, the transparent circle we will use for that, will disappear again, and we will get a nice click animation. Let's go back to our draw scope. Below this else branch, for example, we will apply a clip path and pass our hexagon path, because the animation should not exceed the hexagon's border. Then we will say draw circle. For the color, we will pass white.copy. For the alpha 0.2f, so this will be transparent. The radius will be our animation radius plus 0.1f. The reason for this 0.1f is because if this animation radius is 0, which is it when we're not clicking, then this would cause the app to crash, because there needs to be a value which is higher than 0. And for the center, we will set our click animation offset. So the animation starts from this click offset. Let's go down to our preview and pass something for this onClick. Let's just leave this empty. It's just important that this onClick is not null. And then we can go to split again and launch this with this run preview icon. Then the emulator will start and we can try this out. Let's click on the hexagon, and then you can see the click animation works very well, and it also expands from the point we are actually clicking. All right, okay, the last thing that's left is our progress indicating animation. For that, we will go up to our hexagon, here where the state vars are defined, because we will do this in a launched effect. This launched effect will take the key true, so that it only fires the first time this composable enters the composition. Let me also quickly disable the mouse. And then we can check if should animate loading bar. Then we will apply an animation again. This starts from 0f, will go to 360f, because we can also see this as some kind of circle, which has one rotation when we are from 0 to 360f. The animation spec will be an infinite repeatable animation this time. The animation will be tween, and the duration for one iteration takes 1 second, for example. The delay milliseconds will be 0, and this does not have to be a float, it needs to be an integer, and the easing will be linear easing. For the repeat mode, we will pass repeat mode.restart. And then we get access to the animated value, like here, and we don't need to access the velocity. This is why we make this an underscore. And we can say animation rotation is equal to our value. And then this animation rotation will be our animated rotation value. And we can go back to our canvas draw scope. In here, if should animate loading bar. We will make this progress indicator a circle. It's just clipped to the hexagon, and this is why it looks like it's a hexagonal progress indicator. Very easy, we will say clip path, pass our hexagon path, so it's clipped to this path. Then we will say rotate, pass our animation rotationer, which is infinitely repeating, animating, when we are currently should show the animation loading bar, and then we can draw an arc. Well, I said circle, it's more like half a circle because we only want a specific angel range for this progress animation. We will start at the angel 0 and only draw this arc to the angel 150. This is what I meant by half a circle. We don't want to draw on the whole inner hexagon because then the transition would not look that good. And we will pass a brush, which will be a sweep gradient. And for the colors, we will pass a list of colors. And we will repeat some colors here because in my experience, the transition then looks better. Instead, if you only use 2 colors, we will say background color, the hexagon color dot copy 0.5f. Then we can, I think, just copy and paste this here like this, and then 3 times the hexagon color. And then in my experience, this transition looks very, very smooth and goes from blue to white without some cutoffs and all that stuff. Then we can say use center to true. The size will be our canvas size multiplied with 1.1f so that we don't see any rounded borders, and it will really look like this is a hexagonal animation progress indicator. Alright, okay, let's go to our preview again, and for the background we will pass white here as well, because this white is a little bit more darker than the default one, so we won't get any color issues here. Let's pass for the should animate loading bar true. Then we can go to our split view again, click build and refresh. And then we already see that there's something going on. Let's launch this in our emulator. Okay, alright, this looks very cool. The only thing that's left is of course our hexagon in the middle. And now we will take care of that and put everything together. We will go up above our hexagon composable. We will create another composable called hexagon section, for example. The modifier will be the default modifier. Is scanning is also passed here of type boolean. On scan button, click, which is a lambda function, does not return anything and does not take anything. The color will be of type color, and the background color will be also of type color. Then we will have a box which takes the passed modifier. The content alignment will be alignment.center. After that we can open the box scope and check if is scanning. And if this is the case, we will invoke the hexagon. Let's rearrange this and pass for is filled false, because this will be our animated hexagon for the progress. For the hexagon color, we will pass the color and here the background color. The modifier will be modifier.fillMaxSize. And we will also set should animation loading bar to true. If we are not scanning, then we want to draw the outer hexagon with the stroke. We will pass false for is filled so that the stroke gets drawn. And for the hexagon color, we will pass color. For the background color, we will pass the background color. And we will also apply a modifier which simply fills the max size. So this is for the scanning and not scanning, and we have on hexagon that this always be displayed our centered hexagon. So we will say hexagon is filled to true. The hexagon color will be our color, and the background color will be again set to the background color, of course. Let's also rearrange this again like this. For the centered hexagon, we will also pass an icon, icons.default.search, and in this case, we will only fill 58% of the max size. We will say fill max size 0.58f, so that this hexagon is definitely smaller than the outer hexagon. I played around with these values. You can also use 50% or 60%. For me, 58% is the best ratio here. And then we also pass an onClick function. And in here, we will simply invoke this onScan button click function, which we get passed from above. All right, guys, okay. The last thing that's left is invoking this hexagon section from our main activity up here. For that, we will have a box with a modifier. This modifier will fill the max size, sets the content alignment to center, so that the canvas gets centered just for this tutorial's purposes. And then we have the hexagon section. And for that, we need to pass some values. We will need a state var for this is scanning. So let's create this quickly. We will have var is scanning by remember mutable state of, and this is false by default. And then we can pass it here is scanning. For the onScan button click, we can simply toggle this. Is scanning is equal to not is scanning. For the color, we will pass bright blue. The background color will be white. And then we also pass a modifier. This modifier will have a padding of 15 dp, fill max width of 0.5f, 50% for example. The aspect ratio will be 6 divided by 7. And then we are good to go to try this out. Let's switch from preview to app and launch the application this time. And now we will click on the icon in the middle or in the inner hexagon. And then you can see this works perfectly fine, I think. Let's also check out if we have just 25% of the screen's width, then this still looks good, still working. All right, okay, this was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope that you will apply this beautiful hexagon progress indicator in your own projects. In case you want to learn more about Canvas and Jetpack Compose, then check out my YouTube channel, leave a subscribe. I will continue make such videos, and sometimes more basic ones and sometimes more advanced ones. So see us then.